Here's more wrestling news for April 29th, 2023, and we're kicking off with AEW, and if the reports are to be believed, AEW Collision, the company's rumored Saturday wrestling show, will launch this June and mark the on-screen return of CM Punk. Punk's return will certainly be a huge deal and something many fans thought they'd never see after All Out, but he won't be the only big name in town. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer explained that Punk will return to TV, along with what is expected to be either another major name's debut or return. There is no word on who this mystery debut or return could be, though some have speculated that it could be the debuting Goldberg, as Tony Khan spoke about working with him. Others have suggested that it could be Mercedes Moné, who shows up in Chicago, as well we know she'll compete for New Japan next month. Her future in the company after that remains unclear. Whatever the case, this summer will be a huge one for AEW following a difficult 2022, and who do you think will be the huge name appearing on the Collision premiere other than CM Punk? One name who could be returning to TV at AEW Collision rather than debuting is Miro, who has dropped off the radar in Tony Khan's company. The former TNT champion and three-time WWE US champion has had just one match in 10 months for AEW, and even that was a last-minute decision to add him to the All Out card. Fans have been left scratching their heads as to what is happening with Miro, and this week we got some answers about his status. In the Wrestling Observer newsletter, it is reported that Miro is not injured and not suspended, and is completely ready to wrestle for AEW if Tony Khan gives him the call. The report also gave an update on Layla Hirsch, who hasn't been used in some time, though the Observer did state that this is because she's been dealing with an injury, unlike the Bulgarian. Well, there was a time when Miro's future in AEW looked very bright, with rumors of his wife CJ Perry joining him. That hype was a long time ago, and now we'll just have to keep waiting on him to appear for AEW again, if that ever happens. Over to SmackDown now, as this week's show was all about the WWE draft, but a good portion of the show was saved to build up LA Knight. Knight has been getting bigger and bigger reactions each week, and the megastar had a thunderous reaction in Corpus Christi this week, a crowd which had been uncomfortably quiet until that point. The cheers for LA Knight only grew when he defeated Butch of the Brawling Brutes, and it was a massive sign that WWE is planning to finally give him a significant singles run. Knight has been rumored for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match this July, and if he can keep this momentum going, he could be holding the briefcase in London soon enough. SmackDown also saw a banger of a main event as Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn faced the Usos in a rematch from the main event of WrestleMania Saturday. As you would expect from their first encounter, this rematch delivered, especially as WWE spent plenty of time building up the match, including having a confrontation after round 1 of the draft. The pressure was on for Jimmy and Jay as Roman Reigns, via Paul Heyman, heavily implied that Solo Sikoa should take out his brothers if they failed to regain the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships. Solo Sikoa looked ready to take out the Usos in case they lost, but Matt Riddle foiled his plans and began to attack him while Sami Zayn got the win, this time over Jey Uso. Once again, the tension within the bloodline is continuing to boil over, and if the Usos don't find themselves on a separate brand to Roman Reigns during Night 2, then they may have to be taught a very painful lesson about failure, courtesy of the head of the table. It's been close to a year since Sasha Banks and Naomi walked out of WWE, and after Banks debuted for New Japan as Mercedes Moné in January, Naomi has now arrived in Impact Wrestling. The former SmackDown Women's Champion made her debut, complete with blacklight entrance, during this week's tapings in Chicago, and shared the ring with Deonna Purrazzo. Naomi, now going by Trinity Fatu, wasn't at Impact alone though, as PW Insider reports that Mercedes Moné was in Chicago for the event, but did not appear during the broadcast. Deonna Purrazzo recently won the Impact Knockouts Championship for a third time, winning the vacated title at Impact Rebellion earlier this month, and now Fatu is hoping to make this reign a short one. It's been over 5 years since Ronda Rousey made her debut in 2018, but when it comes to TV, Rousey has only really been around for less than half of those 5 years. Despite a limited amount of time in the ring, Rousey has consistently been booked strong by WWE, holding both the Raw and SmackDown women's titles, despite having little interest in wrestling, at least according to Teddy Long. Speaking to WrestleBinge, Long said that while he considers Rousey a real nice person, but she has never shown any interest in professional wrestling, nor has she had any steam. Rousey has never shied away from leaning into the belief that she doesn't care about wrestling, as she infamously broke kayfabe during a YouTube video in which she called the industry fake in 2019. As for now, plans for Rousey are on hold as she continues to recover from her arm injury, which resulted in a tag title match being scrapped from WrestleMania 39. Nevertheless, Rousey and Shayna Baszler are expected to win the titles eventually once she is fully healed, but that win will do little to change Rousey's alleged lack of love for wrestling. Over to AEW, and it was during this week's Dynamite that Roderick Strong made his debut, which, in an era in which debuts and surprises are leaked in advance, was certainly a shock. The last fans had heard about Strong, he was still with WWE, albeit looking to leave, but WWE did not publicly announce his departure from the company. PW Insider reports that WWE's policy inadvertently helped Tony Khan out this week, as that policy is that WWE doesn't announce when NXT departures have happened. Perhaps if WWE had announced that Strong had been released, his AEW debut would have been less of a surprise, as fans would have expected him to attempt to reunite with Adam Cole. PW Insider adds that Strong's deal expired in November of last year, and WWE worked pretty hard to not disclose it, as in the 5 months since then, fans believed he was with WWE, but going unused. Given the fact that Strong resides in Florida, AEW waited until the programming came to the state, which meant that he had less distance to travel, and fans would be less likely to see him heading to the arena and leak his debut online. AEW went to a lot of effort this week to keep Strong's debut under wraps, and they had help thanks to WWE's policy, something that Vince McMahon is probably regretting right now. For weeks, we've reported on Bill Goldberg and the WWE Hall of Famer's quest to have that one final retirement match before he calls it a career. Goldberg has caught the attention of multiple companies who have reached out to the former Universal Champion, and now the legend is ready to make an appearance. On Twitter, Diamond Dallas Page revealed that Goldberg will be part of the For the Love of Wrestling event this weekend in Manchester, England, and he will be joined by plenty of other wrestling stars. In the image DDP shared, Goldberg could be seen with Page, Booker T, Kevin Nash, and Paul White in a collection of former WCW World Heavyweight Champions. In addition to the 5 legends, names including Bryan Danielson, AEW Women's World Champion Jamie Hayter, The Dudleys, Carlito, AEW World Tag Team Champions FTR, and many more will be at the event, which will be a huge weekend for wrestling fans in the UK. Of course, Goldberg won't be wrestling at the convention, but he clearly remains a big name in the industry, and we'll have to wait and see where his much-anticipated retirement match ends up happening. Back to WWE, and recently it was announced that all employees would have to return to working full-time at the office, a decision that hardly went down well. Talent found themselves to be more productive when working from home, and many parents working for the company were left scrambling to find long-term childcare. In the Wrestling Observer newsletter, it is noted that shocked employees believe Vince McMahon made the call to scrap the popular working from home policy because it was Nick Khan, alongside Stephanie McMahon, who made the policy a permanent fixture when they were co-CEOs last year. While WWE has delayed the back to the office policy, which will now start on May 8th rather than May 1st, this is still a huge change for the employees, and one that McMahon is seemingly responsible for. And we're ending today with WrestleMania 41, as WWE will of course be hosting their Showcase of the Immortals in 2025, but little else is known about the show. WWE is yet to announce either the date or the location for WrestleMania 41, but the grandest event of the year may soon be calling Minnesota home. According to Patrick Kessler, special contributor WCCO-TV CBS, Minneapolis is in the running and is said to be one of the finalist cities that could be hosting the event in 2025. Minneapolis is an interesting choice as it is the home of Brock Lesnar, and there have been a lot of rumors as of late that the Beast Incarnate could be hanging up his boots in the not-too-distant future. Perhaps WrestleMania 41 will be Brock's swan song, allowing him to retire from the ring on his own turf, and time will tell where the biggest wrestling event of 2025 takes place.